Hey y'all, so I wanted to give a spoiler analysis of the movie Relay, um, a movie I saw 2 days ago, and it really knocked my socks off. I really liked it a lot. Um, I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but as genre movies go, as thriller movies go, it's very inventive, and the suspense is, you know, keeps cooking, keeps you on your toes all the way through. Very likable protagonist slash hero, and also this gets to the part that knocked my socks off, and that I want to go into more here. A really very unexpected twist. This is spoiler territory, and the reason why I wanted to do a spoiler video for this movie is because I think it really got in under the radar in a lot of ways. I don't know. I don't. It's maybe corny or something to call it red pilled. To say the twist is red pilled, or but it's definitely a non woke twist. Um, let me explain, and it really resonates with a lot of our experiences. The movie, as I said, without going into too great a detail, because I think I pretty much talked about the plot last time, but you've got uh, this this young woman who has this forbidden material. She's been working for this company, and she did research, and it showed that there was something toxic in the product. Um, and she tried to tell the people about it, the higher ups about it, but they didn't want to hear about it. They just wanted her to keep her mouth shut, because they can just put the product out as it is, and make lots of money. And even though it will make some people sick and kill some people, they'll never be found out. So she wanted to be a whistleblower at first, but then they were harassing her so much that they had a group of thugs with high tech equipment going after her, and she was in fear of her life, and so she basically decided that she wanted to get her life back. And the hero of the movie is this guy who runs this one man operation. He's very vague about, it just being a one man thing. He wants to convey it as if it were, uh, so as if it were a company, and he keeps his own identity carefully hidden the whole time. What he does is he offers this chance for whistleblowers, or people who are trying to be whistleblowers, but who are just buckling under the pressure, who just aren't going to make it, who are, they're getting so much blowback from these powerful corporations, or entities, whatever they are. And so he acts as a go-between, between the would-be whistleblower and the company, and he contacts both parties, and he says, to the company, the whistleblower is not gonna blow a whistle. All he wants is to get his life back, um, and he'll return the document to you, but uh, in order to ensure that you leave him alone, uh, and that you don't go after him after he's returned the document. He tells them, I'm keeping a copy of the incriminating document myself. So if you go after any of them, if you harass them, or hurt them, or try to kill them, after they've reached this deal, where the deal is the whistleblower goes free, and but agrees not to blow the whistle on the corporation. Um, then then uh, then they'll leave the person alone and let him live out his life. It's an interesting concept, interesting idea. Um, so the title relay comes in because, and again, I don't really like the title. I said that before in my previous video on this subject. Uh, he works through this relay system where you talk to an intermediary, and it's a system that's been set up mostly for the deaf, so that if they want to communicate, through to somebody else, through typing messages, and anyway, you can either type a message or respond or talk, say a message, and both messages are heard by the person working for the relay service, and that person conveys both sides of the conversation, and that way, this guy, you know, keeps clear of giving himself away because it's essential that it not be known what his identity is. And he's somebody who, as we find out as the movie progresses, he has this desire to want to help people who are in trouble because they tried to do the right thing and were punished for it. Um, but he also has, problems with. He doesn't want to make himself vulnerable, and these things sort of get revealed in a fairly, non what's the term, um, a very fairly non-contrived sort of way. We sometimes exposition can be clunky, can reveal itself clunkily, but in this movie that's not the case, because this guy, the hero of the movie, the one who's protecting the whistleblowers and keeping the evil corporations at bay. He uh, um, he is someone who, because of various pressures in his young life, um, and a bad work experience himself, he developed a drinking problem. So now he goes to AA meetings, but he doesn't really like to reveal much about himself. But eventually, he has to learn to become more vulnerable, and that's both a an asset and a liability, as we find out. Now, going back to the story, and this is where the spoiler enters in. We're 8 minutes into the video, and still no spoiler. No, Wiki, what are you talking about? I thought this was a spoiler video. Well, here it comes. So the newest whistleblower who seeks him out is a very attractive young woman, and she's very vulnerable, and she's like very much of a damsel in distress, but she exudes this vulnerability that really, eats at his heart, and so he sort of lets his guard down with this woman, and she gets a couple of things wrong. She does, like, she she makes a mistake that threatens to mess everything up, and instead of just doing what he should have done, just turn his back, say I can't be a part of this anymore, and just turn his back on her, she cries. She cries, and the relay people type to him that she's crying. so and he knows her. He's like he kind of finds ways of shadowing all of his clients. So he knows her. He sees her. Obviously, she's young and pretty and seems really nice and very vulnerable, and just really stressed out, feeling like uh, feeling like the pressure of the world is on her shoulders, and so uh, so over the course of the movie, they sort of develop a kind of relationship almost, or a kind of flirtation. Um, and again, part of the characters, the main guy's character development is learning to be more vulnerable, which in certain contexts, in these AA meetings, when he's talking to people that he trusts and people who have feedback that can help him, there it's good. It helps solidify. It helps him to make friends that he needs and who are going to be there for him. But in the context of this work relationship, it becomes rather dangerous. Now, when I say work relationship, it's always just a flirtation. There's one scene where they see each other. They ride a cab together, and they they kind of they don't kiss, but they share this kind of romantic moment where he pushed he like uh, pushes her hair back, and and they sit together tenderly for a moment. Um, her vulnerability and his sympathy for her and his attraction to her, uh, and her ability to manifest this vulnerability, and appeal to his you know to his I've got to ride in and save the damsel in distress kind of uh, inclinations, and the fact that he she's attractive, and all of that. All these things exert this pull over him and make him eventually have to make him give up the the detachment that he needs to do his job properly, and so he's eventually made by these people. He spends the first part of the movie just completely running circles around them, completely outsmarting this group of hired thugs who the corporation hired. They're like they surveil, and they have all this high tech equipment, but he knows ways to get around their system, and he's very clever. But because he's more and more drawn to this woman, and she makes mistakes here and there. Uh, so what's the what's the spoiler you say? We're almost 13 minutes and still no spoiler. Well, you could probably guess what the spoiler is, right? The spoiler is the damsel in distress is really just an agent of the enemy. Yes, that's right. She's a honeypot. Um, and the whole idea of getting him involved with her is to so that they can ensnare him. So the people who had followed him before, the people who he had burned before, this surveillance group that he had burned previously, this is their way of getting to him. And it's when I'm spoiling it for you now, but I still recommend the movie because I guess it probably makes for a very different watch without that spoiler. But it really hits on a truth that you don't see. It's not a woke thing to say. You can't say young women can be very, very deceiving. Young women can, or women in general, can are very apt manipulators, and especially if you're a man, especially if you're lonely, especially if you're wanting, uh, if there's, you're sort of on your own a lot, you're a lone wolf, and you're drawn to somebody who seems really nice, and also is really vulnerable, and she just can't make it without you, and you've got to be there for her. You're it the drive that you have is to well, step up and maybe take risks that you wouldn't otherwise take, and make yourself vulnerable in ways that you wouldn't otherwise have made yourself vulnerable. That's what the culture tells us, right? We've got to get over, we got to, it's toxic to be, to be so, to put up these walls and to want to, just, to be macho all the time. We've got to let our walls down and cry and show that we're really vulnerable too, and just and she plays on, again, it's something that she knows and she very expertly plays on, and it's a shock. I mean, I'm spoiling it for y'all now, so if you watch it, and it's not going to be a shock to you, obviously, but but it might. I think it still will be an interesting viewing experience, just because you can see the things she does, the ways that she works on him. You know, they're only supposed to communicate in certain ways, and there's one day where she doesn't get back to him, and he gets worried, and there's another day where she's supposed to just stick to the subject. It's supposed to be just business, but then she goes over the line and starts asking him questions and saying, I'm sorry, I'm just feeling kind of lonely and scared right now. And he's a good guy, he's a nice guy, and she's an appealing young woman. So of course, it's the honey trap works. But ultimately, though, it's his willingness to be vulnerable. I'm not going to give this away, but his willingness to be vulnerable in a scene near the end, uh, that ultimately saves him. So it goes both ways. But the main thing I wanted to point out about the movie, the one thing I wanted to discuss, there's it's not like it's one there's no a particular perspective on. It's not like there's one size fits all. That you have to be vulnerable all the time, or that you have to just be macho and put up walls and not let other people in all the time. But there's a time for not letting your guard down. There's a time for that too, and that's not what the culture wants to tell men that oh, we're bad because we're toxic, and we're toxic because we've been taught all of this all this terrible, irresponsible, macho type of behavior, and we're not ever supposed uh, uh, to let our feelings out, and um, you know, and we've got to change that. We've got to become sensitive, and the movie shows how a a young woman can can get stuff out of you if you aren't careful. And that's what I think is very red pilled, and very non woke about this movie, and one of the reasons I recommend it so highly. So again, the movie is Relay, and take a look at it if you're interested. It's on Netflix now, and but you can also find it in other streaming services. Thanks.